Today we're going to be learning about how to use the formula sheet. Our objective is that we will be able to use the formula sheet to identify figures and determine the area and volume of two-dimensional and three-dimensional figures, including practical problems. So some vocabulary. Perimeter is the total length of all sides of a two-dimensional figure. So this would be something like a fence around a yard. Area is the space covered in two dimensions. So this would be something like carpet for a room. It's going to cover the whole surface. Surface area is the sum of the area of the faces of a solid. So the same thing, you might want to think of this as sides. The sides of a cube, the sides. So it would be something like wrapping paper on a gift. Lateral area is the sum of the area of the lateral faces, which what this means is the sides, just the sides, not the top or bottom. So this would be like the label on a can. And volume is the space contained in the interior of a solid. So this would be like filling up a pool, or how much liquid is in a water bottle, or how much food can a certain container hold. Before we start on the examples, let's write down some general steps. Your first step is always going to be to determine the shape and formula needed. Then we need to determine the value of each variable. And then finally, plug into your calculator. So a rectangular prism is shown. Rectangular prism tells us the shape we need to be looking at. What is the surface area of the prism? Surface area tells us which of the rectangular prism formulas we need to use. So if we look at our formula sheet, this is our rectangular prism here, and here is our surface area formula. So there's our rectangular prism, and this is our surface area formula. So I'm going to rewrite that on our notes. Surface area is equal to 2LW plus 2LH plus 2WH. So we have an L, a W, and an H in here. So we need to determine from this picture what's L, what's W, and what's H. L stands for length, so it's how long the box is, so that's here. Width is how wide the box is, so that's here. And then height is how tall the box is, so that's here. Now we plug them in. 2 times L is 3, W is 5, plus 2, L is 3, H is 8, plus 2 times 5 times 8. And now you're literally going to type it in just like that into your calculator. 2 times 3 times 5 plus 2 times 3 times 8 plus 2 times 5 times 8, and it gives us 158. The thing you need to make sure to include is your units. So since all the measures there were in inches, we're going to use inches, but it's area, and we said that area is always units squared, so this is inches squared. So approximately how much paint is needed to cover a sphere with a radius of 30 centimeters? So sphere is our shape word. We need to figure out what tells us which formula we're going to use. It wants to know how much paint will be needed to cover a sphere. So which one of these talks about covering something? Lateral area and surface area talk about, wrapping paper around a gift that would cover the gift. A label would cover a can. This says just the sides, not the top or bottom. Well, a sphere doesn't have a top or bottom, so it's going to be surface area. So if we look on our formula sheet, here's our sphere. And there's our formula for surface area, 4 pi r squared. And the only variable in here is r, and it told us we have a radius of 30 centimeters. So the surface area is equal to 4 pi times 30 squared. When you put this in your calculator, the pi button's right here next to the h on the little caret button. So 4 second pi 30 squared. So our surface area is 11,309.73 centimeters. And the centimeters are squared again because we're still talking about area. What is the exact volume? So volume is our formula, and we'll get back to what exact means, of a cone, that's our shape, with a radius of 8 meters and a height of 15 meters. So we need our volume of a cone formula. So here's our cone, and here's our volume formula. So 1/3 pi r squared h. So 1/3 pi r squared h. They told us the radius is 8. And our height is 15. Now, since we want the exact volume, pi is not exact. It's a big long decimal, so we're not going to type this in. Don't type this in. So on my calculator, I'm just going to do 1/3 of 8 squared times 15. And I get 320. So my volume equals 320. We didn't type pi, so we're still going to write it here. And then meters, since that's how our radius and our height were measured. And since it's volume, it's units cubed. And that's your exact answer. So a couple keys to let you know not to type in the pi would be if it says exact, or if you had on a test the answer blank and then it had pi, inches squared afterwards. It's saying leave the pi out, or if your answers were like 12 pi, 3 pi, 17 pi. If you see the pi's written, that's your key not to type it in. That's all for today. I'll see you in class.